At the top of the mobile food chain, HTC and Samsung battle for king of the millions. While down at the bottom, a new boat sails into smartphone stream. We'll talk about that, and we'll talk about waterproof galaxies and more Nokia EOS rumors today, and a whole lot more on episode 045 of the Pocket Now Weekly, the once-a-week podcast from PocketNow.com, where we discuss smartphones, tablets, and the state of mobile technology in 2013. I'm your host, Michael Fisher, editorial director at Pocket Now, and today I'm joined by senior editor Taylor Martin. Good morning to you.
What up?
And for the first time in the history of the weekly, we're joined by a non-Pocket Now team member from Android Beat, Engadget, and a ton of other outlets I cannot remember right now. Please welcome to the show, Stefan Constantinescu. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning
Nice
to you.
to have you on the air. We have been Twitter friends for a long time, haven't we?
We have, and it's because I'm snarky and you're snarkier, which is great.
I don't know. I think that you may win the award for snarkiest in that. We have to put it to the readers. I do enjoy when followers of both of us kind of chime in on our interactions, which is fun. But I was trying to remember this. So listeners, the way we kind of thought to do this is that, as you may be aware, we've kicked off the Pocket Now VIP, which is a video series, and we're about to have episode 2 of that. With a guest. I'm not sure if I'm allowed to announce him, so I'm not going to. But we kicked it off with John Rettinger. We're going to have somebody else very soon. But we thought, why let the video broadcasts have all the fun? So we've actually planned on guests on the weekly for a long time. Just turns out the time was right for Stefan to join us. So I was curious though, Stefan. Can you tell us a little bit about your story so we know where you're coming from? How did you get into mobile, and how long ago was that?
Wow. So I don't know if you guys remember Helio.
Oh, yes.
Remember Helio?
The premium carrier that offered, it was an MVNO that offered really fancy phones.
Yes, I used to work for them.
Really?
It wasn't anything. Yes, I did. It wasn't anything super fancy. I was that guy in the shopping mall, like, hey friend, check this Samsung out. Check it out. It's cool, right? You want a contract?
Check out this Ocean. It's called the Ocean. That's cool, right?
Yes, exactly. And then while I was working there, it came time to purchase a brand new handset. And I was looking at all the phones out in the States, and they were all, let's be frank, all the phones out in 2006 were quite bad.
I don't know, man. That Razr Max was pretty awesome, the first one.
So I started researching online, and then it's like, wow, look at all these phones in Europe. They have these really cool Symbian things with large screens and Wi-Fi and whatever. So I bought a Nokia E61. And
Nokia E61.
Yes, it's
a hard side sliding ones. Which one was? Oh no, it was the BlackBerry-esque one.
It was like the size of a loaf of bread. It was huge.
Not a slice, a loaf. I like it.
A loaf. And I got that thing, and I had zero clue how to use it. So I did what all the cool kids were doing in 2006. I'm like, I'm going to start a website writing about this so I can learn. And I did. And a website called Into Mobile found it, and they were like, hey, we like what you do. Would you like to write for us full time? And I was like, oh man, should I keep on selling cell phones in a mall, or should I write for a website on the internet? Of course I said yeah. And after I got my first paycheck, which was June 2007, 1 month after that, I got a one-way ticket to Helsinki, Finland, and just was like, all right, I'm going to try to end up working for Nokia.
Whoa.
And I did.
That's right. You're an employee. Okay. Did the one-way ticket to Helsinki, was that prompted by an appointment with Nokia, or was that just something where you were like, I'm going to go and then I'm going to get a job?
Yeah, so after I started writing about the E61 and then all the other things the company was planning, I was invited to junkets, and they flew They sent me out to CES, all the shows
fun
and
stuff.
all that stuff. Yeah, and I was like, this is a pretty cool lifestyle. These are people I want to work with because they're cool guys. And I was like, are you hiring in the States? And they're like, sorry, America is not a nice country. So I was like, okay.
Is that verbatim? That's a verbatim Nokia quote?
No, it's not. It's not. But roughly. So all the action was in Europe. So I moved to Europe.
Wow.
So yeah, I was there for, I worked there between March 2008 to, was it April or May 2009? And then the European economy went to complete hell. I got out, and then my old friends from Into Mobile called, and they're like, hey, we see you're out of a job. Would you like one again? And I'm like, yeah, I like
Heck
food.
yes, I would.
Yeah. I like having an apartment.
And after that, and since then, you've been completely on the journalistic side. You have not since then taken a job at another OEM. You've been at several press outlets, right?
Yes, I've been at several press outlets, and I did some freelancing work for 2 analyst firms. So.
Wow. Yeah, you've been all over the place. It's awesome. It's interesting to me that you were at Nokia before the Stephen Elop kind of transformation happened. But in all your travels since 2009, since leaving Nokia, all of that has resulted in you returning to Finland, to Helsinki, which is where you are right now.
Yep.
And this is one of the principal reasons that we wanted to bring you aboard as our first guest, because we were it was recently Jolla Love Day. Something, maybe the most peculiar title for a mobile event ever. But we could not attend. We wanted to, we're mostly here in the States, except for Anton, who's in Romania, and Jaime, who's in Honduras. So we just couldn't brook the travel to Helsinki for this event, so we decided to cover it remotely. But you were there, Stefan. And you covered it in person, right?
Yes, I did.
I want to hear that story. I really want to hear what that was like, because we're big. If you're not aware, we are big fans of Jolla at Pocket Now. Outside of a reporting standpoint, where we remain balanced, you take off the press man's hat and you hang up your pencil, and it's like, man, I hope those guys do well, because I like what their product is I've seen so far. What?
We're all fanboys.
No, that's right. That's right. We're all fanboys.
Well, before you get into that, Stefan, I just want to say it's kind of crazy how similar our journalistic paths started, I guess. I mean, I never just diverted and went and worked for an OEM, but I was working at Best Buy Mobile and selling cell phones at a store, and I was asked to write for Phone Dog, so it was... I didn't really, I didn't really create my own site, but I would post like little reviews and things online. So yeah, it's kind of crazy.
I like it. Taylor has a nickname on the weekly. He is the Segway Smasher.
Yes.
However, I'm glad you did it in that instance, because actually that is something I meant to point out. All 3 of us on the air right now are all veterans of the smartphone retail space, who now write about smartphones. I think that's pretty cool. I dig that. I worked for Sprint Nextel here in the United States. I want to visit Helsinki someday. But so, speaking of which, let's talk about Jolla Love Day. Stefan, give us the story. What was it like?
Let's see. I don't know how to tell this story to you without making you cry. So, first of all, it wasn't an event per se. It was we each had half an hour with the CEO and a software guy, and he was running us through the operating system and the device. And then in the evening, the Jolla Love Day, that was some sort of party which I skipped out on because, I don't know, open source, 40-year-olds, all guys in a hotel party. It's not my scene.
You opted not to. So it was more like Jolla Love Night then.
Yeah. So
choice words.
The phone itself, it looks really sexy on the website, right?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I think Taylor wrote a whole piece on its relative sexiness. Yeah.
In real life,
Don't do this to me.
so bad.
Oh,
no.
no way. What in what way? Materials?
We weren't allowed to touch the phone, but we sort of did, but we were sort of not allowed to. I don't know how to explain that without trying to set off any alarms.
Sure.
They're surrounding your place right now.
Yeah.
The bezels on the side of the screen are ridiculous, like huge. Same thing on the top and the bottom, and the screen itself has 0 viewing angles, none whatsoever. And then as for the software, I'll be honest with you, I was at their last event, which was in the fall of 2012. Yeah. And it hasn't changed. It's literally the same software. And I want to be impressed. I really do, because it's a Finnish company and I've been living here for 6 years and I want to support them and all. And they're all ex-engineers. But it's like, if you're going to spend 400 euros on a smartphone, and that's what they're selling this for, 400 euros, you can buy a Samsung Galaxy S3 for the same price.
Yeah, that's a pretty substantial price tag. It is.
Yeah.
So if you're going to spend that, your argument is that you want a product that is more finished, that is more polished, that is what?
And you're paying for OG status.
Yeah, right. Yeah. That's the thing. You're paying to get in on that that 2007 iPhone, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a guy who, if I purchase something, it's a tool and it has to work perfectly. I don't want to troubleshoot it. I don't want to open up any online forums and ask people for tips and tricks and stuff like that. I just want to open the box, pop in a SIM card, and I'm working. And the Jolla phone is the complete antithesis of that. Antithesis, not antithesis. Jesus.
That's all right. Sorry, I say antithesis, so it's okay. I say a lot of words really strange, and I get hell for it. So you're allowed a few.
Welcome to the podcast where we talk weird. No, it's all right. So that's interesting to me. I too saw the software in person at MWC, and Taylor, I think you did too, right?
I was not there.
I know you weren't there. But, MWC. I'm sorry. I was thinking of CES. I'm sorry. Oh, okay. All right.
No, I did not see them at CES.
Okay. Well, in any case,
I don't even know if they were there.
No, I don't think so. I've seen the thing in person as well. The fact that the software hasn't changed much actually doesn't bother me too much, because when I saw it, it was pretty polished. I mean, there was not a lot wrong with it. I didn't feel like there was a whole lot missing from it. It looked damn near final running on that Nokia not N76,
N950.
N950, yeah. So
they didn't have it running on the Migo phone. N9.
Not an MWC. They didn't.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, the software excited me. I was excited to see the hardware, and that's what I was waiting for from this reveal. And okay, so it's good to hear a first person's perspective on maybe these large bezels and this kind of thing. But what about the material, Stefan? Because that's the one thing that I know you said you weren't allowed to touch it. I don't know if you cannot talk about it or whatever, but I don't know what to make of this. And I know a lot of this hardware isn't final, but it doesn't feel good. It doesn't look like it feels good. And we'll talk about the other half in a second, but just the feel.
I have one word. Huawei.
Oh, that's an effective word to use.
That is an effective word, but the what was it? The Ascend P1. I think it was. That one wasn't bad. It was really lightweight.
It was very lightweight.
Plastic. Yeah, but it wasn't bad.
It wasn't bad. I reviewed that one.
Was it P1 or was it like Ascend Mate or something?
I'm gonna say like Huawei G300 or something. Just
throwing out a random. They have to have something out there named the G300, right? Or is that actually a phone? Because I don't know.
It actually is. Yeah, the Huawei Ascend G300.
Oh, the Ascend.
Yeah, but honestly,
you hear me googling?
I would be so much more excited about this phone if it was 200 euros, because that's what it looks like. It looks like a 200 euro smartphone, and they're charging 400 for it.
Mm-hmm. All I'm going to say is this phone, the G300, looks like a Nexus 1, so I can't hate it yet.
You have to touch it and get back to me on
That's
that.
exactly right. It's a tactile discussion.
Yeah.
So, all right. So we've got a materials kind of perspective here now. What do we think about this other half? I think this is probably the biggest piece of innovation on the hardware. I want to say that I'm eager to give Jolla kind of a break on the hardware, not just because I like them, and as you say, Stefan, you also would like them to succeed, and you like them, and so on. But the thing is that they're not quoting any concrete specs at all, because I think they're still sourcing. They're still working out all those supplier agreements and all that stuff. So we don't know who's making their screen. We don't know who's making their camera, and I don't think they know some of this stuff yet. So it is entirely possible that when these things hit production, we'll see some changes. Go ahead, Tyler.
That's a good thing, though.
No,
Because you look at
No, it is not. Trust me. I asked them up the wazoo everything about the processor, the screen technology, all that stuff.
Yeah.
And all the answers I got back were the 3 words I hate to hear the most out of anyone's face. Hardware doesn't matter.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now
It's
that's a half truth. But the reason I say that it's a good thing that they don't have those specifications yet, and this is probably looking at it from the wrong perspective, but look at Yoda phone. They released, or they announced a phone how many months before it's going to be available with specifications from that time, not when it's going to come out. When the Yoda phone actually comes out, it's going to be sporting a 1.5 year old specs. So,
Right. But, I mean, that would have happened, people would have been disappointed in that regardless of whether they announced it at the unveiling or not, right? Because
Well,
I think they're still going to get a lot of press. I mean, I still want to see the thing.
yeah, but I'm saying this company might, they might, if they have an ounce of marketing and I don't know, prowess, I guess I'll just say
Savvy.
marketing prowess, savvy, anything, they will wait and update the specifications as close to the launch as possible.
Yeah, because what are they saying? They're saying quad core, right?
No.
Oh, what is it, dual core?
Yep.
Ah, yes.
With an unknown frequency, unknown RAM, unknown screen resolution. We know it's a 4.5-inch screen.
That's all we know. 4.5
that's
inches.
all
No
we know.
viewing angles.
Yeah. Oh, God, I do wonder if that... did they say anything about these demo units? Did they say anything about, this is not the final screen? I'm sure they said this isn't final hardware, right?
They said that, of course, which they kind of have to.
And everybody,
yeah.
right, of course, that's the usual thing.
They probably got that display from Sony.
It's possible.
Sony makes such horrible displays. What happened to them, man?
You turn off a couple
Xperia
degrees
Z?
from the center line, and it's like, oh, it's gray. Why is this gray now?
Yeah, you just slightly tilt it away from you, and the whole screen just disappears. You're like, what?
Yeah.
What happened? Hit the power button, and then it turns off. You're like, what? No, what happened?
Now, as I recall, that didn't happen on the Tablet Z, which is interesting. I wonder where that panel came from, but we'll know more about that very soon, actually. So let's keep it on the Jolla phone for a second. The Sailfish OS powered Jolla phone for a second. I want to talk about the other half. Did you see it removed and then replaced, Stefan?
No, I did not. And I asked about that specifically. I said, "Hey, can you please remove the back of the phone? I want to see the battery. I want to see where the SIM card goes, etc. Blah blah blah." And they were like, "That's not happening. No." And I was extremely puzzled by that. I'm like, why?
What I want to know is the whole point to it, or one of the main points that they said was the theme of the phone changes to the color of the back that you put on it.
Right.
So if you put on an orange back, you have an orange display and UI. You put on this turquoise color, and everything turns turquoise.
Yeah, it's ambiance.
And one of their in one of their press shots, I didn't realize it. It's one I used in the article. One of their press shots, it's got an orange back and like a navy blue UI.
Yes. Yeah. Well, you can change it up. Like you don't have to.
I mean, I'm sure you can, but wouldn't they want to show off that it kind of corresponds to the color?
Well, they do that in the turquoise one. I feel like with that's just a press decision. Like they've got this photo up. It's like, all right, orange on one side, blue on the other. This looks good. This will be more eye catching.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe. But I want to say that they're not the first to come up with the idea. In the editorial I wrote, I touched on an article I wrote about Microsoft, I think last year, maybe 2011. I can't remember. But Microsoft filed for a patent. It was the beginning of last year. They filed for a patent on a dual module phone. And what it was is the body of the phone was kind of like a side slider. So instead of it having a physical QWERTY when you slide it out, it has interchangeable modules that you could plug in. One could be an extended battery or storage. One was a game controller. One was a media thing, so you can like play your movies on the screen of or on the phone display, and then scroll through your content on this media plugin.
Oh.
So they had this. I can drop you a link if you want to see it.
So that's interesting. So all right, but they filed a patent for it, but they never did anything with it, right?
They didn't.
Yeah.
Well, they don't have a patent for it yet, but I think that was one of the patents that they filed for, so no one else could use
this is
that
why
idea.
It's interesting, like because we've seen this concept come up before. I mean, it's probably like an 8-year legacy by now of companies coming out of the woodwork and be like, hey guys, what if you had a phone that half of it was customizable and you could just slap on a customizable back for whatever you wanted to do? Like, but I think Jolla is the first. Correct me if I'm wrong. Please, somebody jump in and correct me if I'm wrong. I think Jolla is the first people to actually kind of follow through with this in what could become a big way, right?
If the phone ships, then yeah, they will be.
Yeah. Now it'll ship with a default back, certainly. They're not going to ship the thing backless. I mean, that would be ridiculous. So it'll probably ship with a standard back with a standard battery. But I remember asking Mark Dillon, the head of software, about the stuff on our interview, and he was like, I asked him about what everyone on Twitter was asking about. Was like, ask him if they're going to do a QWERTY keyboard back. And his only response was that he's smiling from ear to ear. And I was like, okay, all right, well, that's, I understand you can't share the deets, so I will look forward to seeing that. I don't know. What else could they do with this? Extended battery stuff? What else? My imagination is failing me.
Well, one of the descriptions on the site was a back for work. So you've got all your enterprise applications and logins and everything in one back, and then you go home and you pop one on, and then you've got one for your personal stuff. So that the software... I've learned that the software differentiation between two phones, like you switch to a work mode when you get to work, it's not necessarily effective, I guess, because it's like me. I work from home. I would much rather work from an office because I don't get that separation. It's like, does that make sense? Like I don't get a physical separation, so I always feel like I'm on the clock.
Sure. No, absolutely. I get that.
Yeah.
And that's a whole different conversation. I mean, I think all three of us work from home. I mean, Stefan, when you work for outlets, you work from home, yeah?
Of course, yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, I agree. And that's a huge conversation that I'd like to have. People have written books on that. But, there are some companies like BlackBerry 10, the platform offers that, I forget what it's called, but that firewall between work and personal.
And Samsung has Knox.
Yep. And so this is cool. And to solve that problem through software is actually quite elegant, and it does obviate the need to do this fancy hardware stuff that is, by all measures, more difficult, right? But it would be cool.
There is an easier way to just buy two phones.
Oh, well, yeah. No, it's true. But isn't that like a lamer way, too? Like, I just get I think it is because I get so geeky about like, all right, I got my Transformer phone here and it's the same phone, but check it out. And then it's like, I do some crazy stuff. And it's like, slap, look, it's my work phone. And then I take something off and put something else on. It's like, no, it's my personal phone. I'm going to the club. I don't know. Maybe it's because I'm 14 and I like movable parts and things like that. But I just like the concept.
Maybe. Did you get the link I dropped?
I did. So this is a cool patent. We're not going to link to it in the post, unfortunately, because it's from Phone Dog, and we have this external linking thing. But this is really cool. We can maybe I can drop the image in here. But this is
I can give you the link to the filing.
You should do another editorial at Pocket Now about this. No, this is really cool. I'm really Taylor already said it before, but this is this Microsoft side sliding big old Windows Phone landscape slider with modules you can just drop into the lower section. So it's cool.
The other part where he had basically just two displays was also part of that patent, I believe. If it wasn't part of another one they filed.
Now we've seen those two displays thing try to work. What was the carrier here in the States? I'm not sure if it ever made it or if it started
Sprint?
overseas. No, I'm sorry. It's a specific device. It's a side-sliding dumb phone, a landscape slider, with a display right in the middle of the bottom slider and the keyboard flanking the display. Do you guys remember that?
That was on AT&T, I think.
Yeah, I think you're right.
And I'm not sure what it was called.
AT&T.
It was split something.
Landscape QWERTY.
Was it an LG phone?
I think it was probably, it was either LG or Samsung, right?
Pantech?
Or Pantech.
It might have been Pantech. Let's see.
But gentlemen, let's be serious. A patent is like a wet dream. It's nice when you have it, but you can't really do anything with it.
You were right, Stefan. It's LG Double Play.
LG Double Play. Okay.
LG Double Play. Look it up, everyone, for a fun trip back down memory lane. That was only from 2 years ago.
Something like that.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It was a pile of garbage then. It's a pile of garbage now.
But see, these are the things that get me excited. Like that Samsung Creative or Captivate or whatever the hell, with the secondary OLED display beneath the primary one.
I remember that.
Remember that thing? Yeah. So this is what I like. I like innovation. I like cool ideas. Even if it is totally impractical, I give companies props who go out of their way to be like, no, we're going to do something different. So I really like that. And I hope that by the time the Jolla phone comes to market, it has at least 2 or 3 alternative other halves. Because if it doesn't, this whole thing is just, why bother, right?
I just have one question for you.
Yeah.
Have you pre-ordered it at all?
What, the Jolla phone?
Yeah.
No. But
I want to see them succeed, but I'm not helping them.
Well, here's the thing: we do expect to get a review unit. I refrain from pre-ordering most things. I mean, the Pebble was an exception because it was an accessory, right? Combadge might be an exception because I might just want one, but I wouldn't do it with a phone just because I would expect to review it and then. I guess that's the one sort of.
You feel entitled.
Yeah, I don't feel entitled. No, I feel entitled. I feel practical. That's how I feel. I feel for once in my life, I feel practical. But
getting old.
I know, right? Oh God, I have to go grocery shopping with this money, not out. I am looking at the thing because there was one other thing I wanted to cover on Jolla. So, Stefan, I feel like I know your opinion on this, but I'm going to ask you again, and I also want to ask Taylor, and whoever talks first wins.
No.
It's me. No, damn it.
First. Will novelty be enough for this sucker? Do you think that if they get a solid screen in here, if they get if they make the hardware feel better, do you think that it offers enough potential to keep Jolla afloat until the Jolla Phone 2? The floor taking.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Taylor.
I was just going to say that that's a lot of ifs. There are a lot of ifs, a lot more than just the display. If the software is ready, if the display is better, if the chipset can make the phone run smoothly, all of that together. If they bring it all together, maybe. It's a very long shot, very slim odds that they can, but I imagine what will happen is if they don't patent this idea, or if it doesn't infringe on Microsoft's dual module patent, somebody will borrow the idea. That's the unfortunate truth.
That's interesting. And I do wonder how aggressively Microsoft will, if that patent actually went through. I wonder if, whatever. There's always legal battles, right? I do want to make a point before Stefan responds. I want to say that I saw this platform running on that Nokia N950, and we've seen it just tons of times. It runs very smoothly on, what is that, 4-year-old hardware? 3-year-old hardware?
Really old, yeah. I would have to say at least 3, yeah.
So if it can run that smoothly on that hardware, then I don't think it's going to have any trouble running on whatever this dual-core thing is they're throwing at it. So I have confidence it'll run smoothly.
They have one if out of the way. Awesome.
They do. They do.
50 more to
go. Stefan, your thoughts?
Well, let's see. When they first showed off the operating system Sailfish, they said that they would have something out by the end of the year, and that was 2012. And then they said, okay, we're working on it. It'll be out by the spring, and that didn't happen. It's going to be June pretty soon, and they said yes, we will have a phone out by Q4. That's the official word, Q4.
Right.
And assuming it does come out in Q4, that's the huge if. Assuming it does, it doesn't run Android, and it doesn't run iOS, so nobody cares.
That is a cynical but understandable viewpoint that I cannot, in good conscience, disagree with entirely.
And also,
because you're right. Like,
I will have to argue with Taylor, who says that it would be a shame if somebody stole all their concepts with the other half and the software. I think once you insert an idea into the world, you don't own it anymore. Like, it's sort of all about who creates the best implementation of it. So if somebody
don't shy away.
rock on.
Like, I don't, not shy away, but I don't disagree with taking someone else's idea and building upon it, because that is innovation. That's how innovation works a lot of the time.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily something that we are proud of.
But you just disagree
LG.
with taking the idea and
Like,
implementing it and duplicating it, just ripping it off wholesale.
Like
right?
LG does for Samsung.
Oh God, it's so bad. Why does LG
bad.
exist?
Yeah.
I don't know.
You know what's funny?
But,
What's funny about that is LG never really bothers to address it. They just kind of sit in silence and they're like, "Yeah, we do it. So what?"
Yeah, well, in Korea, if I'm not mistaken, they don't really care.
Yeah,
They're just kind of like, yeah, they copied us, whatever. We did
Yeah.
it better.
Yeah.
Here we're like, they copied that guy, and now, or I'm saying they. Look at this.
Look at this. Look at this.
It
Violating our
copied
new style guides.
It copied it. No,
That sounds confusing.
Doesn't it?
Yes,
See now
it
we've ruined the podcast.
yeah. No, but to what Stefan was saying, why would anyone get behind a company when no one is really getting behind Microsoft right now? You know, Nokia is behind them, but they have just after 2.5 years. How long has Windows Phone been around? I can't remember.
2010, I think, was when Windows Phone 7 dropped.
Okay, so almost 3 years now, right? Because it was like
two and a half.
October.
2.5 is right. Yeah.
Yeah, so 2.5 years, and they just now, combined with Windows Mobile, if I'm not mistaken, have just over 3% market share, global smartphone market share. And
Not the size, it's what you do with it.
and BlackBerry has dwindled and dwindled down to around the same. So these two big name companies can't do it in the market. I'm not saying a third party no name startup can or can't, I guess.
Yeah.
I'm not saying they can't do it, but what are the odds? We need someone with clout.
It's a massive long shot.
Yeah.
So you
Yeah.
Do you think they're well? Then in that case, what do you think they're going to get bought, or do you think that they are going to just outright fail? Because remember, it's like an open source thing, right? There's a lot of community enthusiasm behind this. That's one of their big pitches. Is that like, yeah, look, we have a small but very, very fierce community. I mean, that ultimately didn't save. That's what's trying to save the remnants of WebOS right now. It's not really working because nobody's left. Well, I shouldn't say that, but not many people are left. But I feel like these guys have a little bit more of a head of steam behind them, so they could survive in that way. I love that we've gone to the doom and gloom place already. I'm sorry. But
Well, can I read an excerpt, like a really small excerpt from the editorial I wrote?
only if you do it with fiery passion.
Fiery passion.
Yeah.
Jolla is a perfect
Not like the dog from the Taco Bell commercials.
All right. Anyway, Jolla is a perfect example of a company. Jolla is a perfect example of a company many of us are rooting for, but we'd be naive to think or to take the road ahead of them as. I'm just done. I'm done. I can't read.
Translate it for us. What is your final point before we move on?
I cannot read.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
But we'd be naive to take the road ahead of the small company as anything other than an unbelievably steep mountain, and simply rooting for a company doesn't make the climb any less difficult.
That's a solid point. I think we all agree it's going to be a very, very difficult road to hoe.
It's like a
Road to
Remember that? You remember that expression?
no. I've never heard that in my life,
Yo.
and I've heard a lot of really
I was going to
strange
say, Taylor,
expressions.
you didn't grow up with enough country music to hear the expression "row to hoe."
No.
I used to think it was rotor home. I used to think it
Would you
referred to houses on helicopters.
Did you steal that from like a John Wayne movie? Because he said a lot of sayings that no one ever said
I
before.
believe I stole it from a Reba McEntire song.
Wow, that's even worse. That is worse than ripping off John Wayne.
Really? Oh, yeah. No, you're right. You're
Reba?
right. Listen,
Really?
You live in Super Carolina. No, Trisha Yearwood. I'm sorry. Trisha Yearwood. I was incorrect.
I have no idea who that is.
Let's move back into mobile technology, shall we? We've what, Taylor? Oh, before we do jump, I want to say something. Taylor has an announcement that because we were getting to know Stefan at the head of the show, we did not get to address this. Taylor has a new toy. It's not a piece of mobile technology.
You have a new toy.
Yeah, it's.
I'm actually podcasting from it right now.
No, you're not, because you've plugged in an Ethernet cable. Taylor has an A-wing starfighter. What is this car called, Taylor? You have a new automobile.
Yes, I got a Scion FRS, but I've been calling it a Cyota. No, Cyobaru. Cyobaru.
You familiar with the Scion brand, Stefan?
It was an off-brand from Toyota or something, was it?
Yeah, it's Toyota's like U.S. hip brand.
Yeah, and
Because
normally
Toyota here was like kind of perceived as like a grandma company.
Yeah, yeah.
So they launched Scion to appeal to the younger demographics.
It's kind
It
of
looks pretty crazy, yeah.
it's wild. Yeah. It's a wild looking car. What color did you get it in?
Hot lava. It's like a hot lava. Hot lava. No, I
Samsung
said
should
orange.
adopt that name for one of its new S4s. Hot lava.
I was driving it I was test driving, and the guy who had sold me the car, I called it orange while we were driving, and he smacked me in the arm, and he's like, "It's hot lava." I mean, I know the guy.
Oh, okay.
I know.
I drove. Got beat up by the guy?
I drove an hour and a half out of the way to go buy a car from him when there's a dealership 3 miles down the road. So
Hey, that's loyalty there.
there's loyalty. But
Congratulations, man! It is good that you have a car that you love. Taylor's in love with this car. I had to give him some airtime to effuse it.
I love it, and everybody keeps stopping me to ask about it, and it's cool because I've never had a cool car before. I mean, I had a Scion TC before this, but it was just kind of everybody's got a TC.
I want you to write an editorial, and this is not an assignment because I'm not doing that, but I wish that you would write an editorial drawing links between the similarities between buying a new car and buying a new smartphone. Because there are a lot.
So many papers to sign.
Yeah,
that's one difference.
The contracts to sign, and then there's that whole thing like people look at you and it's like, oh, what's that?
Yeah.
Like, oh, look at that. And then when you first see someone else with a hot lava Scion model number, your heart's going to be either broken or you're going to wave at them. I don't know you well enough yet.
Yeah.
My heart would always break when I'd see somebody with my new phone. I'd be like, oh no, it's mine. I have that.
I saw 3 yesterday. Yesterday alone, I saw 3 other FRSs.
In hot lava?
Not in hot lava. That's why I
There you go.
picked hot lava.
This
That's
is
not
the
the common color. Everyone gets like a red or a blue or a white.
I'm glad that you chose to be unique.
Yeah.
Speaking of hot lava and volcanoes and disasters, and Taylor, this is your cue to ruin my segue. This is how.
Star Trek.
Yeah. we had the opportunity. AT&T in the United States invited us to tour a disaster relief exercise that they were conducting with their network disaster recovery team.
I thought you were segueing into Star Trek in the beginning of the movie.
No, that would be awesome though. But spoiler alert: there are volcanoes in the new Star Trek. So we went. It was in Hartford, Connecticut. It was right down the road. I went and I was shown around for about 2 hours. The most elaborate set of equipment and mobile technology on the network side that I've ever seen in one place. It was absolutely absurd. I'm not going to talk a lot about it. I just want to say there's a video on Pocket Now covering this. And it was stunning to me to see the resources that a national carrier like AT&T has to come into a place that's been ravaged, like Oklahoma, poor Oklahoma with this tornado, disaster, and restore service and get people connected again. And hearing some of the stories from the people working on the team were really amazing. And I got to nerd out, guys. You know what a sat colt is, right? Or a cow, a cell on wheels.
Yep.
Yes.
They're different pieces of technology, sat colts and cows, but they had one sat colt on site, and the acronym, I believe, is Satellite Cell Site on Light Truck. And I first read about the existence of these things like 10 years ago on Howard forums or something like that. I'm like, wait a minute, they can wheel up a cell site on a truck?
Oh yeah, that's
yeah,
how that's how you know
out.
where the press event is. Like if you're in New York, you look for the trucks.
Oh yeah,
you look for the big Verizon or AT&T trucks parked beside each other.
Exactly right, because they can wheel them in to bring additional coverage additional capacity into an area, or additional coverage too if the local site is down. But just being able to walk around inside a satellite Colt was awesome. Just knowing that this thing could wheel anywhere, pop up a mast, and in like 2 hours can provide a cell for however many people.
Did you feel
I can pop up a
coming
mast
on?
and provide something for 2 hours.
Bazinga!
Did you feel the cancer running through your body
No,
when you walked through that
It wasn't
thing?
active. Well, actually, yes, because the diesel generator was running, so I got a nice snout full of diesel fumes. But
It's healthy.
that's
It's
not
sulfur.
Really nice. Yeah, exactly. Keeps you ready to do things.
Makes you feel like Superman.
Build stuff. That said,
Great things.
that was a fun tour. I encourage anyone in the press or VIPs if you are in a field that carrier wants to show off its disaster recovery operations. Anybody who has an opportunity to see this stuff should go. And or if you happen to have the misfortune of being in a disaster area and you see a carrier branded vehicle, odds are you can probably get some internet or some cell service from them to tell people you're okay. So keep that in mind. Pretty cool to see the carriers doing this. That said, should we start talking about Android, gentlemen?
And I'm going to kill the segue.
Every time. Every single time.
I want to see how. I want to see how you slaughter this.
Yeah, okay, sure.
No,
yeah, what,
you
Taylor?
were
You
saying-
got cupcake news or something? What's up?
Yeah. No, my car's
Android
sweet.
figurine?
No,
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
I got hot lava on my cell site.
Okay, so you said you were impressed that they could wheel in a cell site on a truck.
Totally.
I think it was about a year ago. My grandpa handed me a newspaper, and I saw nothing about this on the internet, and I was going to write about it, and I never did. But there was a technology, a guy who had created the power of a cell site, a full-on cell site in a box about the size and shape of a Rubik's Cube.
It's called a small cell, yeah.
But it was just capable of serving hundreds, maybe even thousands of people.
No
through,
way.
Yeah. That's at least what the news article said. And granted, the news article was in a newspaper, and they don't necessarily always know how these things work. But
Yeah. Wait.
just want to
What? So,
like, am I just totally?
small cells are low-powered
Okay.
radio access nodes that operate in licensed and unlicensed spectrum that have a range of 10 meters or 1 to 2 kilometers.
If you Google Nokia Siemens Networks liquid radio technology, that's basically what you're talking about.
Liquid radio.
Liquid radio technology. We're doing this right now.
As somebody who has studied about cellular networks for quite a few years, yeah.
Liquid
Small
radio
cells.
adapts the capacity and some other page loading.
So here's the thing.
What is the deal?
Okay, so sorry, it used to be a cell site was this fully standalone operational thing where it had the servers, it had the cooling, it had all the computer stuff, plus the antenna, plus the power amplifiers, plus the power source, all this garbage required to allow you to watch a YouTube video on your phone.
Right.
So Nokia Siemens Network said, okay, why don't we put all the computer stuff in the cloud, aka the internet, and then our cell sites should be as cheap as humanly possible. They'll just be antennas with power amplifiers, and we can even solar power them. And that's essentially all it is.
That's what this liquid radio thing is.
Yeah.
What I'm
And
seeing here doesn't really look like anything that I was talking about. Actually, here's one. No, I found one.
It's still fascinating.
Yeah, no, I was looking for exactly what it was.
this isn't like a really innovative thing. Like if you Google Alcatel-Lucent small cells, they have it too. I think Broadcom.
That's what I was
does,
talking
but-
about. That's what I was talking about.
Telefonica tests. Oh, this was at MVC. Yeah. So every time I open up Chrome, it opens 4 tabs at once, which I really
Yep.
like. I'm going to do that. Oh,
Yes.
there it is. That's a little. Oh, wow, that's tiny.
Yeah,
Alcatel-
that's why it was so impressive.
Oh, add
Because
that
it was
to
a-
the list, dude.
Yeah, there was a guy just holding one in his hand, and
All right.
Wow.
I'm sensing, so you know what I'm sensing right now? Like my mind is reaching into the future, sensing the frustration of users who can't see what we're looking at. And I'm sensing 47 of the usual, why don't you guys have a video podcast comments? So let's move on. Let's talk about Android. Taylor, save that link so that we can talk about that later, because I think there's a really cool editorial in that somewhere.
So you glad I killed your segue?
I'm so glad. Thank you for staying consistent.
Even though I was totally wrong, at least we had an expert on the line.
You're doing it again.
Thank you, Stefan.
Get out of here.
You boys want to talk about droids?
I want to. Thank you. See, this is a nice guest. HTC. We have a big scoop from. It was Chris Ziegler at The Verge who kind of tipped this off in the middle of the night a couple nights ago. I was just on Twitter and I'd finally gotten away from mobile technology, and this lights up my feed, and I'm like, oh, I have to click on this. I have to click on this, even though I would rather be paying attention to this episode of Deadliest Catch or whatever I was doing. And it is this. There's this interesting story that HTC is losing a lot of employees, or employees are losing HTC, or something is going on. There's a lot of reshuffling happening, not on the engineering side, but on the marketing side of HTC. And this is a cause for concern in some quarters. Any kind of shift like this is... You clever bastard. Yeah.
Sorry, I had to.
Actually, it starts out dramatically, too, as Tony's news post about this. The captain is the last one to abandon a sinking ship. And he starts talking about Peter... is it
Chow?
CEO Peter Chow, yeah. But anyway, he's not going anywhere. He said he would resign if the one wasn't a success, but I think it is going to be, which we'll talk about in a second. But they're moving a lot of product strategy manager Eric Lin, who we all know from he's a veteran. He's been around since I used to follow him on Phone Scoop, who tweeted, "To all my friends still at HTC, just quit. Leave now. It's tough to do, but you'll be so much happier, I swear." So it sounds like there's definitely, and that's backed up by some other stories, and The Verge has since updated their story with other accounts. I mean, it seems like a big reshuffle is happening over there, but some astute commenters have pointed out that this is all happening on the marketing side, or close to the marketing side. And
it's all in San Francisco, right?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Or around
Seattle.
Right. And so somebody actually said, like, you guys have all been complaining for years that HTC is not advertising properly. Well, now they're doing something about it, so, this shouldn't come as a big surprise. Yeah. So I imagine the truth is somewhere between that and, the sky is falling and, no, there's nothing to worry about. What do you think, Stefan?
Well, I've actually read The Verge's piece, and I agree it was fascinating. And I've been following everyone else who has been covering it, because TechCrunch found out about some other guy, Engadget found out about some other guy, CNET, et cetera, et cetera. Mm-hmm. And the total right now is 8. So 8 really high-level HTC executives have now left. And it's really interesting to see where they're headed to. So Eric Lin, he now works for Skype.
Right.
John Stark, he works for AT&T. The head of digital services, Elizabeth Griffin, she now works for Nintendo. So what do I think about this?
Yeah, how do you read the tea leaves here? You're really good at industry analysis, which is why I've wanted to have you on the show as well.
I mean, I've been following all the stories coming out of Taiwan, and everybody says that Chow is just firing from the hip, and he's not planning for the long term at all. Yeah. So if the one works, great. If it doesn't, that's HTC's problem. And he's overworking everybody. And it just sounds like he's a guy who's trying to run really fast, really far, and he's just running out of breath.
Taylor, do you agree?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't read all of it, but I've read enough to know that, yeah, that's kind of what's happening here. As much as I want to say that this isn't like anything to be alarmed about, it's something to be alarmed about until Peter Chow does step down.
I will be interested to see how this goes. Now, normally we would expect this to be backed up by a story saying HTC's one demand is not meeting forecast, but we are not seeing that.
We're seeing almost the opposite,
Right?
In some regards,
we're seeing HTC One having sold 5 million units, and this is sold, not shipped, as I understand it. I think I confirmed this with Tony, and he did say that this is sold, not shipped. So, that's a lot. I'm just going to ruin the future transition and say that the Galaxy S4 has now officially shipped 10 million units, which we were expecting it to do before the month was out, but I personally wasn't expecting it to happen this quickly. So the S4 is obviously taking off just as we anticipated, but to see that the HTC One is selling in 50% of that volume is actually really astounding to me, because I didn't expect it to sell that well.
I just want to point out that the Samsung figure was from an official Samsung press release,
right.
Whereas the HTC figure was from an anonymous HTC executive who spoke to the Wall Street Journal.
That is true.
I'm not saying it's fake. I'm just saying you have to take it with a little pinch of salt.
You're absolutely right. And we have actually reached out to HTC for comment on that. We have not heard back yet. We just reached out to them this morning. We will see what they say. So you're absolutely right.
But even say that number is inflated.
Right.
Say it's 3 million or 2 million. That's still kind of impressive given how viral the S4 is.
Yeah, absolutely. It is.
Absolutely, yeah.
And we can't really speculate based on this number yet. But you're right, Taylor. Even if it is less than half of the quoted figure, it's still impressive, because what happened last year with the One X got glowing reviews all across the internet, and then it just didn't move. Right? I don't have any figures on the One X. Does anybody know how much that actually sold in its prime period?
I think I bought one of them. Somebody else bought another.
Yeah, 6.
And then the review units all went back, and it was like 5-6 move total.
I wanted one. I wanted to keep mine, but they didn't let me keep mine.
I've got one right here. Yeah, I'm selling it.
I don't want it anymore.
You guys in the States had the one with the Qualcomm S4, and I hated you for it.
Yeah, because it ran better.
Yeah, here we had the Tegra 3 one, and anything from NVIDIA is just pure trash.
Just get out of here. Oh,
but you could have played Shadowgun with enhanced graphics.
I have a computer for that.
Taylor's gonna get up close and personal with NVIDIA stuff here soon, I think.
I am.
I don't know if we can talk about that.
I don't know either, but I am.
So let's not.
Hi, I'm from NVIDIA. Our chips are fast, but they're not in any products. Please ignore that. Please ignore that. Please ignore that.
And we're going to have a 3-hour press event to show off nothing.
Oh. Anyway.
No, they did show off some stuff, but still.
These are sales figures. These are things that are happening. I think the more exciting story from the Samsung camp is that not only are there 10 million Galaxy S4 units sold, but they are offering them in new colors. Hot lava. No, they're offering them in joining White Mist and Black Forest will be this summer. Anyone want to guess what the adjective next to blue is?
Arctic?
Yes, blue Arctic. And, of course, red Aurora. Followed by my favorite, not brown autumn, which I think is just... anytime you make a brown phone, it's just...
Who wants a brown phone?
Stop it. I remember in 2004 when the people designing the Motorola i830 for Nextel had consulted with some fashion consultants on it, because it was the smallest Nextel ever, and they decided that rather than offering it just in an aluminum finish, 2004, apparently the color of the year in fashion was supposed to be copper. So they plated this thing in copper, and it was one of the ugliest phones I'd ever seen. But it is now a collector's item, so you can go get one. But brown autumn is gross. Purple Mirage would, I think, be my choice for a new Galaxy S4, just because I like the name.
I'm telling you guys, a purple Galaxy S4 with a yellow S-View cover.
Oh my God!
No, thank you. Those were my high school colors.
Oh God, yeah. I was
purple and gold. Purple and gold.
Oh man, that's cool. I should plate a phone in my alma mater's colors. I should get a silver and blue phone. Silver and blue goes well together.
I should just start carrying my Galaxy Note 2 again with the bright orange flip cover that I have.
You know what? Forget it. I'm just gonna go to Adam Dowd's house and steal his Lumia 920 in bright yellow. And then I'm gonna alternate that with an HTC 8X in highlighter yellow, and I'm just gonna be visible wherever I go. Can we talk?
I can't actually find a picture of these colors. There are like 10 reports saying new colors, and they link to an old picture of the phone. Are there any visualizations?
They haven't made them yet, have they?
They have a photo of the red one and the blue one, but that's it.
I'm looking.
There. And the brown one is in a video on Samsung's YouTube channel.
Yeah, and if you want to see a blue one, listeners, we might update our post with the photo, but I'm finding one at digixav.com. Yeah, it's a blue Galaxy S4. I mean, cool. It's more Arctic than the blue Galaxy S3. I'll give it that.
It's more Arctic than blue.
Yeah, certainly more Arctic. Yeah. I'm no longer interested in Galaxy S4 colors. Samsung has bought a 10% stake in Pantech. How about that? There's that news.
That was pretty
Sweet.
crazy when that hit.
Yeah. Well, I don't understand. This is an unexpected move for me. First of all, I don't pay any attention to Pantech because they don't have a big U.S. presence. And apparently I should, because they're like the number 3 in South Korea. Is that right?
Yep, they are. And they make some crazy phones. So they announced a phone called the Vega Iron. And it is gorgeous. It is absolutely. It's like what the S4 should have been.
Really? The Pantech Vega Iron. It's like
Yes.
they took the two most badass words from like cosmology and metallurgy and made an awesome phone. Whoa.
And like
It's like an Xperia Z
It's like an Xperia Z from Battlestar Galactica because it has like
with
like
a corner
these
chopped off
cut corners. Yeah.
for a lanyard hole.
Oh, I
And
hate
you-
lanyard holes so hard.
you have to watch the software videos because they invented some crazy stuff there. Like the Android capacitive buttons on the bottom.
Yeah.
You can put those wherever you want now.
You can put them alongside if you want.
Alongside, in the center of your screen if you wanted to. Like completely.
That's cool stuff. Wow.
Everything's crazy. So apparently, anytime I write about Samsung or LG, I always have one crazy guy come on the site and he's like, man, Pantech invented all of this stuff. They're just stealing it.
Really?
So, yeah. So apparently they're big.
Wow. And so, I mean,
Well, all we ever see from them in the States are like
mid-range, low-end.
cheap, free phones. Like,
Yeah. Like the Pantech Discover is the most like bad one, and bad in a good way, in a cool way.
And
about
I don't think
Pantech?
I've ever touched a Pantech phone in my life. So
Well,
Were they at ODM at one point? Did Pantech make phones for other people?
that's a good question.
Yeah, I don't know.
I
I
think
reviewed
Kyocera did.
the Pantech Flex.
I don't even know what that is.
I don't know. I also don't know what that is.
It was a phone on AT&T that was like, it was a metal phone from Pantech.
Ooh, cool. Wait, anyway, we're going to start getting into, I don't know. This is reminding me of when Panasonic used to make phones, and then I'm remembering tiny phones and blah, blah, blah. I miss tiny phones. This is interesting to me. I mean, this is a big stake. Samsung has invested $47 million into Pantech. It's like a 10% stake, and I think I just don't really know what to make of it because these guys are competitors. It's not like a carrier buying a stake in a carrier in another country like is happening with Sprint right now. It's they're manufacturers.
It's like Ford buying part of Chevrolet.
Yeah, the quote is that it is believed to further strengthen bilateral cooperation in smartphone and other business areas.
In other
Which means
words,
absolutely
we
nothing.
Exactly.
It means we can steal from you rightfully.
Right. Yeah. I do wonder if this is like an insurance move where it's like if any of those claims, not that I'm saying that any of those claims are true, but if Samsung did in fact draw inspiration from Pantech on some stuff, they may be buying insurance against that. I don't know.
What's really cool about Pantech is, like you said, Samsung just purchased 10% of them, but there are also two other corporations. Well, one technically isn't a corporation who also own a 10% stake. One of them is Qualcomm. So Qualcomm owns 10% of Pantech.
Really?
Think about that. Yes. And then the other 10%, the government of Korea.
Really? The government of
Yeah.
South Korea has a 10% stake in Pantech, and so does Samsung. And Samsung and the government of South Korea are obviously very tight. It's fun to
They're
read
one.
about their interactions. Yeah.
One might say they're in cahoots with one another.
One might say that. Yes, indeed. Well,
But yeah, I killed your transition. Sorry.
No, not at all. Thank you for that. Actually, that's very insightful, and we did not have that in this particular post. That's something. So I'm going to keep a little bit of a closer eye on Pantech, but we have one more piece of Samsung news before we hop out of Android, and that is concerning this Galaxy S4 Active, which when it first came out, I thought it might be a rumor. Well, it still is a rumor technically, but I thought it might be an unfounded rumor, and it's looking real. This Galaxy S4 Active looks to be basically a Galaxy S4 in a rugged, waterproof shell that is, for one of the first times in history, not making it a bulky cat phone like the B15 that just launched. We are getting the interesting thing about this is not really that it exists, but that no one can seem to agree on what specs it's shipping with, because unfortunately, durable phones have a legacy of being mid-range and low-end phones only. There are very few truly high-end phones that are also durable or waterproof.
Xperia Z.
Yeah,
hate to bring that up again.
Okay,
not durable.
The Xperia, exactly right. It's waterproof, and waterproof does not equal durability necessarily.
That thing scratched. Like, I sat it down on a table with nothing. Like, I wiped the table down. I was shooting a video.
Yeah.
Wiped the table down. Sat the phone down. There were no scratches when I sat it down. Picked it up. There were scratches all over the back.
Yeah.
Like, how does this happen? And then somebody in the comments is like, "Oh, the back is Dragonfire, whatever glass or
Dragonfire glass. Yeah.
What is it? What is it?
I think it's
Dragon Trail.
Dragon Trail.
Yeah.
Dragonfire though is a way cooler name.
Yeah. Why wouldn't you call it Dragonfire?
Well,
I mean,
there's a roller coaster at Busch Gardens that already has that name, so they can't.
True Busch Gardens.
Yeah, likelihood of confusion is high. No, but the thing is that the specs on the Galaxy S4 first looked like they were exactly like at least one of the variants of the Galaxy S4 out there on the market. And then somebody came along and said, no, look at this. It's probably only running a dual-core S4 Plus or a dual-core S4 Pro. I can't remember which. Pro. And then a commenter came along and said, no, look, in the in one of these frame grabs, it says quad-core ARM v7 processor, which is probably a APQ 8064 with an Adreno 320. So nobody can seem to agree on what's inside this thing. And I'm just hoping that it does pack some really impressive specs, because it will be, once again, one of the first durable waterproof phones to do so. Are either of you guys as excited about this Active, or am I just a durable phone nerd?
You're a nerd.
Thank you, Taylor.
You're a nerd. You're a complete nerd.
Thank you. Good. I appreciate it. Good. Well, that's been the Pocket Now Weekly. We'll see you guys later. No.
I think we can all agree, though, that the screen is going to be 5 inches and 1080p, which excites me the most.
That's a solid point. Yes, indeed. They're going to use the same panel, almost definitely. And that's...
Those buttons. Man.
Big old... So, yeah, the home, back, and menu keys are physical buttons on this, which...
They look straight up 1998.
They do.
Yes.
But you need physical buttons on something like this that you're going to market to people who are doing what? They're wearing work gloves. They're wearing big, clunky finger protection. You know, they're trying.
I wish I had the Optimus G Pro so I could click the button into the mic again. That button sounded like a toy. It was like I don't even know how to explain it. But you could just feel it. Like, you could feel the phone vibrate when you click the button, so it felt hollow.
Yeah, well,
and that's what I imagine with these.
The Ativ S has the same feeling. Like, you press the home button, and it's like, oh, okay, that's a little hollow feeling. Then you talk into it, and it resonates.
You mean this thing?
Oh, you got it. Thanks for telling me you got it. Yeah, there you go.
I posted a picture of the note you put on the box.
Oh, you did? Oh, that's right. What did I tell you?
Treat me gentle. I'm special.
Yeah.
Are you sure the phone wasn't delivered in a little school bus? And...
Like, I opened the box and I'm like, what is this? Oh, COTVS. And then I saw the note and I was happy again.
Oh, good. See, there
I'm
you go.
special. I need to talk to you after the podcast, by the way.
Good.
I'm just going to throw that in there.
Good. You should do that. Speaking of after the podcast, we're getting close to it, but we have to cover Windows Phone before we go.
Do we have to?
We do. We need to do it just so you can earn us our legitimate following of angry Microsoft commenters that follow every podcast because we get a minor detail wrong. No, I don't generally like putting a lot of rumors in the podcast because it's just then it kind of turns into the same thing every week. But this is a cool one. There is not any accompanying photo or video or anything from this alleged sighting, which, number one, means we should take it with a massive granule of salt, and number two, means that reading it is kind of like reading one of those UFO sighting accounts.
Yeah, I was about to say Sasquatch does exist.
Yeah, but I love
promise. I saw him once.
I want to read this because it's so cool. This is the quote. The lens housing is round in shape and does not protrude much. The flash is xenon, and the flash and lens are both smaller than the Nokia 808 PureView. Blah, 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 blah. I love this. The number of megapixels were not marked on the prototype, with XX megapixels only being written on the lens housing. The regular photo app is also available, but there's a new camera app called Nokia Pro Camera with a completely new interface. Screen size and resolution is same as 920. By the way, if you just see this thing in the wild, I don't know how you can say that the resolution is the same as the 920. And appears to be AMOLED. The speaker holes are at the bottom of the handset. The handset was much lighter than the Nokia Lumia 920.
Wait, how could
Who
you
the
say
hell's
that?
the source?
The source? This story comes to us from WM Power User. And
It's garbage. Sorry.
Zing.
Wow. No, you could say that it's the same resolution because that's the maximum resolution that Windows Phone supports. Right?
Yeah, right. Yeah, you could
Yeah.
say that, but that's not what the account says. The account says it's the same size and resolution. Like it
The
implies that you can
account.
tell it with your.
I can measure with my
eyes.
eyes.
So they had WM Power User has updated their original article, and they said we had another source confirm the above info and added that the device will not come in colors. Obviously, the source is not named. They don't even bother with the source familiar with the matter.
Believe us, UFOs exist.
Yeah.
If a source makes a smelly fart and then another source says, "Yep, it really smells," does that really count? Like,
There were UFO sightings.
Philosophy.
There were UFO sightings during the tornadoes in
Oh dear God! Let's not even
and-
get into that.
in Oklahoma.
in Oklahoma. Yes, there were UFO sightings, and it turned out to be transformers exploding because that's what happens when power lines go down.
True enough. True enough.
Like there was a shaky camera and
There's always
transformers
gotta be a shaky
exploding
camera.
miles
Yeah.
away.
So
Yeah.
the thing is, we agree that these are highly questionable rumors, but here's the thing. Like all great rumors that usually end up being false, it's very plausible. All right, this description is not outlandish. We're not hearing about a flexible display or a spherical phone or any of this kind of garbage. So, I think this is probably pretty close to what we'll see from what is still being called the Nokia EOS. What do you guys
there was
think?
there was a guy in North Carolina who spotted Sasquatch, and he drew him and said he had beautiful hair. So
Thing is, Sasquatch is not likely to be unveiled anytime soon. The EOS is likely to see to reach our eyeballs in sometime in the next 6 months. So, do you think that this is
sure.
gonna? Do you think
he
that
had
this?
beautiful hair.
Oh, was Cleveland Brown who found it?
no.
Look at that Jerry curl.
I think Cleveland did rock an awesome Jerry curl back in the day. So what is if the flashback episodes of Family Guy are to be believed? So what is the? But I think this is. I'm not saying this is legit. I'm saying this is probably a pretty accurate description, even if it's totally fantasy at this point. This is sort of what I expect from the EOS, and this is what I would probably get very excited about. Is this what it would take for you to get excited about a Nokia, another Nokia Windows phone, Stefan, or would it take more than this?
They got to get rid of the live tiles and they got to switch to Android, and
Oh, get
then
out!
maybe I'll care about Windows Phone. No, but honestly, this whole EOS rumor has been going on forever and ever
It really
and
has.
ever.
Yeah.
And there's a new one every week.
Yeah.
every week,
Seriously.
if not
Yeah.
3 or 4.
This is one of the most talked about phones ever.
Why not?
Or
Why
this year,
wouldn't
rather.
it be?
Right, because
And there's something that Nokia fans don't want to personally admit, but they're not in charge of the software. So if they want to put in a 41 megapixel EOS whatever sensor in there, they have to ask Microsoft, and I doubt they would try that.
Well,
I think they
have
would.
to upgrade the
Because
chipset.
Windows Phone needs all the help it can get, and Microsoft, for all its bluster and all its scroogled BS, like understands that Windows Phone needs more to capture more market share. So I think that they would. I think that they would embrace the idea of this industry-leading, headline-grabbing camera module, and I think that's exactly what they're going to do.
What is the only Symbian phone anybody's talked about in the past 2 years?
Exactly, the 808 PureView, right?
Exactly.
Okay, talked
So
about who bought it.
Tony bought it.
Okay.
And he loves it.
And you know, but you're right. I mean, sales figures aside, it is a very well-known phone. It established the PureView brand, which has carried Nokia to some degree of success.
Right. That's their in.
Yeah.
That is their foot in the door. But the problem is that it's not just we have to ask Microsoft if we can use this. It's we have to ask Microsoft to update the capabilities of Windows Phone 8.
Right.
They have to upgrade the chipset because old chipsets from last year can't support 41 megapixels. You would have to use a Snapdragon 800.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because the maximum of like a Snapdragon 600 is like 20-some megapixels. So if you were shooting in 41 megapixel range or anything above like say 25 or 26, 28, whatever the limit is, you would have to use a Snapdragon 800. I don't know the limitations of a Snapdragon S4 Pro, but I'm sure I could find that.
I find that fascinating. So this means that we will see the EOS either alongside the next iteration of Windows Phone, or we will see the EOS land with a chipset that is more current, more contemporary, but it will not land with a 41 megapixel sensor. It'll land with an oversized sensor that uses some other kind of software magic to do some pixel half doubling or some other term that I will make up.
Yeah, limitation of Snapdragon
simply.
600 is 21 megapixels. I can't find the S4 Pro.
Interesting.
What about the 800?
800 is 55.
Whoa.
Yeah.
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 That's a lot of pixels.
Or they can take the HTC route and just magnify it. You know, they can say, listen, megapixels really don't matter. Our primary shooter is a 1.3 megapixel camera, but it's got a sensor the size of a manhole. That's what they'll do.
If they did like a 16 or 18 or 20 megapixel camera with a large sensor, like an ultra pixel style sensor, it would be huge. It would be enormous.
It would.
But it would be phenomenal, at least for a phone.
With a detachable lens. You know you want to take nice shots. You bring out the DSLR lens for your phone camera.
You know, I just have to talk about HTC One versus Samsung Galaxy S4, and everyone's like, which one is the better camera? The whole ultra pixels thing, blah, blah, blah. All the reviews say that the GS4 takes better photos in everyday situations. So,
outside, yes. Once you get inside, it is so bad. It is awful. If you get in not even just poor lighting, if you get in moderately poor lighting or even just slightly poor lighting, the camera's awful.
Yeah, the very first picture I took with the Galaxy S4 was on an Amtrak train, and there was natural light coming in through the windows and artificial light overhead. And I took that picture looking down the aisle of this train, and I was like, wow, what is with all this noise? It was a well-lit shot from any other perspective, but boy, it didn't do well indoors.
Yep.
But no, outdoors, beautiful photos. And
awesome.
Tony says up and down, like he's like that was the first thing he said when he got the octa-core. He was like, this S4 destroys the One's camera, and yeah, under ideal conditions it does, but man, not in low light. That is,
and the S4 takes the best panoramic shots on a phone that I've ever seen. It does. I mean,
I've never
until the iPhone
panoramas to work
5S
right.
comes out. Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah,
I
I've
took
never
one
gotten
shot.
that stitching to work right. It makes
What?
cars
Did you
look
see
ridiculous.
the one I used? Did you see the one I did?
No.
It's in the review. I can link to it. There's a download for the full size. It's like 23 megabytes.
Yeah.
It's 50 some megapixel picture.
What is it? A landscape panorama?
Yeah. And it is just the stitching is literally almost perfect. I looked through every little area of the picture, and there are like two areas where the stitching is a little off.
You get stuff more than 20 feet, like close to the camera lens, closer than 20 feet to the camera lens, and stuff really starts going messy there. I hate panoramas. Have given me a lot of trouble this month. I don't want to talk about them. I'm just so angry. So sad.
Well, I'm gonna show you this picture anyway.
So many lost opportunities. Before we head out of Windows Phone, actually we are going to head out of Windows Phone. Before we head out of the podcast, I do want to ask if there's any other news that we failed to cover or anything that has popped up in the last hour that we've been on the air, because it was a slow week in some regards, but not in others. It looks like the only news that I'm seeing right now is that there was a smartphone demoed by LG with a barely there bezel. That sounds awesome.
Barely there. Well, you have the new Verizon MVNO that is particularly targeted to
Latino
Latinos,
right? Yeah, that's J-Lo announced that at CTIA, right? Oh, also, yeah, good end of the show announcement. We're not at CTIA, sorry.
Because nobody cares.
Right.
There was really nothing there.
Yeah, well, the thing is, there's stuff there to report on if you are a broader publication. We are, as we say often at Pocket Now, we are very, very device focused. So there wasn't a lot there for us. But Sprint is unleashing a bevy of waterproof Kyocera phones like the Torque, which we reviewed and which we're going to write about again tomorrow. So that's exciting. I like durable phones.
Nah.
Can I get a hell yeah?
Yeah.
No. You guys don't care. Yeah. Okay.
I don't drop phones often. So.
Exactly.
You guys
Once.
need to come on a
or
away mission
swimming.
with me. Yeah. You just until you've had a text conversation from the shower, you just don't understand.
I'm done. I'm done.
Yeah.
Good, because we are out of time. I do want to say before we go, Stefan, thank you very much for being our first ever non-Pocket Now guest on the Pocket Now Weekly. Really enjoyed having you on the air, so thanks for your time.
Oh man, I was thrilled when that email hit my inbox. So thank you for calling me out here. That was good.
Absolutely, man. And normally we would end the show with some listener mail and stuff. We're a little over time now, but I think it was really worth it. It was really great to get your insights, and let's not make it the last time. I would love to have you on the show again.
Absolutely, yeah.
Good. In the meantime, tell everyone on the internet where they can find you if you would like to share that.
Google Plus is stupid. Facebook is where I talk to my family, and on Twitter I am at WhatTheBit.
Hilarious. Awesome username, and I love it. But that is going to do it for this episode of The Weekly. Find the rest of us on Twitter. Taylor is at CasperTech, CasperTek. You can always find me at Captain Two Phones. And once again, Stefan is at What the Bit. You can also follow Pocket Now officially at Pocket Now on Twitter, at Pocket Now on Facebook and Google+. Leave us a review on iTunes or Xbox Music. And if you have a topic, question, or suggestion for the podcast, we are going to get back to listener mail at some point. Podcast at pocketnow.com. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next week. Come on, Taylor, say goodbye.
Goodbye.
Yeah. Oh.
You got to pay your dues.
Question, Stefan, am I the only one who Taylor sounds like a robot to?
No, you are not.
Yeah, is he? Taylor, you're kind of falling apart over there. You got a connection issue, man?
I don't think so. I forgot to plug in my Ethernet cable. I'm on Wi-Fi.
There we are.
I always plug it in. So I sound better now?
I don't know. Why don't you tell us some more about BestBuy.com?
Oh, thank you.
No, actually, you sound much better now. Good.
Of course I do.
This will be so much fun to edit out later. Thanks, Taylor. Hey, by the way, all those points you were making, I'm sure they were great. We didn't hear any of them.
I'm sure they were. I don't even know what I'm saying.
This is your public service announcement to plug in your Ethernet cable before a podcast.